Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Sorry I'm a mess. As many of you know, whoever follows my or watches my videos knows that I quit my daycare job where I was working. And at the beginning, like I said, I was working with the 2 and 3 year olds, which that room was a disaster because there was no um, structure because they always had different teachers every week. So when I walked in there, it was just me and this other teacher that was only helping for that day, and it was a disaster. But I I stayed for 3 months in that room, even though it was a complete it was chaos, and I stayed even though every day I was sweating and doing everything. And then the teacher that became the I guess the lead teacher was not helping at all, and I did everything. And I never would speak up before. I always kept everything to myself, but I learned that I need to speak up, So I decided to tell the my boss, the main one there, how I was feeling. I even told the owner, and instead of removing me from that classroom, they removed the teacher. So then I was left alone with 12 kids sometimes, well, all the time with the 12 kids, but sometimes we had more than 12, so someone would have to come help me. But it was pointless because whoever would come help me was this lady that never did anything either. It was like worse than having the actual teacher that was there because she completely didn't help with anything. But when I did have the 12 by myself, I would be changing diapers and I had to deal with the kids fighting, throwing things at each other, them jumping on tables. It was a disaster. So I ended up telling them that either I quit or they changed me. No, well, at first I was telling them that it was hard for me, and then they're like, okay, just it's temporary, but it was not. And then I said I quit. So then they worked with me and they said, okay, we'll put you in the baby room. So then I decided to be in the baby room, which was the best job I've ever had in my life. I love those babies. I got attached to those babies, and everything was good with me and the lead teacher. We worked really good together. But then we're gonna get more babies, so then they decided to hire a second helper, or a third helper, so it was three of us. And so when I became oh, and then I had to, in order for me to stay in the baby room, then they told me that I needed to take a class to be in there, because I guess that's the only class I did not take back in when I was in college. So then I had enrolled, and then I was told that I just needed to give the papers to my boss, that she was going to send them out for me, which she never did, and that made me behind for the class. So then she's like, oh, as long as you're enrolled. But at the end, I realized that I was never enrolled, and I found out by that boss, and then the owner, and then my boss, instead of taking the responsibility, she just threw me the papers, and I had to deal with it. And then she told me that once I was enrolled, I would be with the babies, and my new schedule would be from 9 to 6. So I would be a closer in the baby room. But she told me that I would be there Monday through Friday. I mean, at the time, Monday through Thursday, because I had gotten Fridays off because of the whole situation in room 3. And and she never told me, not once, that I was gonna be a floater, which means that I'm in different classes every day, and I'm giving lunch breaks, 10-minute breaks. Or I would be in a classroom if a teacher didn't show up. I would be in her classroom the whole day, and then I still have to go back to the baby room in the afternoon. And then they would bring other kids from room 2, which are the 1-year-olds, mixed with the babies, and I would have to clean and throw the trash away, put the stuff in the washer, and just clean everything. And it was a disaster because the teacher that they hired to be in there, she wouldn't do anything. She was so lazy. She hated her job, even though she was only there for like a week and a half when I was still there. She just complained about the babies making a mess when she was feeding them, or when they were moving when she was changing their diapers. Like, she was just not the right person for the job, And me, that I loved my job, I was taken out every day to do other stuff to help everybody else, And So the main reason I quit was because they lied to me. They said that I would be in that room when I wasn't. I was only there to be a closer. So all this time they lied. All they wanted was me to close that room, you know, and because obviously not all every time they had all the 12 babies. There was so many times they only had 4 or 8, and you're only supposed to have 2 teachers if you have 8 babies, and if you have 4 babies, only one by yourself. So obviously, when Miss S, I was gonna say her name, but the teacher that I work for, she was always basically left alone with the 4 babies because she only had 4. So I would always do lunch breaks and all that. I mean, yeah, breaks, 10-minute breaks and stuff. So then we started getting a little bit more babies. So then I would be there with her. But then they hired this other teacher, and she started coming in before I would come in. So then I would be the last one to come in, because before I would come in at 8:30. I mean 8:15 to 5:15. But then they changed my schedule from 9 to 6, so I would be the third one to show up. So by the time, most of the time, they only had 8 babies, so they didn't need me in there because they already had the other teacher with the lead teacher. So it's like I was only there to close, you know, and I was never in there. And that kind of hurt my feelings, and they said it was temporary, but it kept happening. And then they would promise me that it was not going to happen the next day, and it would still happen. They had more excuses, and then I had to pay for my own class, which was $400 for what? So I can be a closer. So I'm paying this money just to close the room, you know? So I didn't think that was fair. So I told my boss how I felt multiple times. And she would always tell me, oh, we're working as a team. It's just temporary, it's temporary. But then when I realized how that girl that they hired to be in there, how lazy she was, it made me so mad that that's not fair, that she's able to stay in that classroom the whole day while they have me all over the place, when I love that job. I love that room. I love those babies, and she doesn't, you know. And it's just like, it was so upsetting. And then they always have me doing breaks, and sometimes breaks are they suck, because you're supposed to have the people go to the 10-minute break, and then they have to come back right after their 10-minute break so I can go to the next and the next person. And some people would take their time, some people wouldn't go right away, some people would come 2 minutes after their 10-minute break. And so this one day or afternoon, the owner wanted to talk to me, and I was busy. So she's like, okay, I'll talk to you later on. And then she never did. I clocked out, and she still didn't talk to me. So I went and talked to her. I went to the office and said, don't you want to talk to me? So then her and my boss, so the owner and my boss, they had me in the office, and they were treating me like I was in trouble, like I was back in high school in the principal's office. Like, they were saying that it looked weird, because we would get PTO, because sometimes they wouldn't give us our 15-minute breaks when I did have to be in room 1 with the other teachers. When we did have like 9 or 10 or 11, then I would be in there. So then they had no one else to do breaks. They couldn't even hire someone else, you know, to do that. They should have, but they didn't. So then we wouldn't have breaks. So there was a lot of time where we never got our break. So they would have us do our PTO, and then at the end, everybody was able to get that money on their checks, and then they weren't going to give me the money, because supposedly, I don't know, it was weird, because the owner, it was so hard to understand her. She speaks a different language, so English is not her first language, so it was hard for me to understand. And then she was basically telling me that I wasn't going to get paid for the PTO because I had a schedule, which doesn't make sense, because everybody else has a schedule. And then it made it seem like because I don't work Friday, so it didn't make sense. And then she was saying that I only had 7 hours of PTO when I had 10. I even showed her pictures, because everybody told me to take pictures, because they tend to do this. And at first she's like, nope. And then it's like, okay. So she agreed that I had 10. So then I ended up leaving upset after work, and then I decided to quit. I messaged my boss, and I told her, you know what, I quit. And I told her the reasons, and obviously she didn't take accountability for anything. And so then the next day, I guess she told everybody right away, because one of the teachers that I'm not really close to, I did not really like, was the first one to message me super early, asking me the reason why I quit, because she didn't believe that it was because of for my family, because that's what they said, which that was one of the reasons, but that was not the main reason, not the first reason. And I told this lady, I know that I shouldn't have trusted her, but I told her everything, that my boss was a liar, and I hated how the owner talked to me, and how, you know, like the truth, you know. And she went and showed my boss the message, and And I know it was mainly to like, because she didn't, that teacher doesn't like the boss, so I think it was just to tell her like, I don't believe that she quit for this reason, this is the reason she quit. So I don't think she did it to harm me, but to kind of put her on the spot, I think. But it ended up biting me, you know. And okay, so then after that, Miss Julia has, oh my gosh, I said her name, but it doesn't matter. So she messaged me to see if my paycheck looked right, and I said yeah, but the PTO wasn't right. I said, because at the end, the boss agreed that I had 10 hours of PTO and not 7, but my boss said no, you only have 7. I'm only giving you 7, so she ended up just paying me for 7 hours instead of the 10 hours. And even with proof, I even sent the pictures again, and she did not care, but I had no more energy to fight it, so I let it go. And then I noticed that she was very short with me on all the messages. And then this other teacher was the one who texted me and told me that this teacher had showed her my message. And then it makes sense to me why my boss was being so short with me, because she saw the message that I sent the other lady, which was already everything that I had told her herself to her. But yeah, so then I think weeks passed, and I emailed my boss. I didn't want to text her anymore. I wanted to be more professional, so I emailed her asking her to please mail me my file with all my stuff, the paperwork with like my background check, my transcript, my doctor's papers where it shows, you know, that I did my TB test and everything that I need for, you know, to get another daycare job. And she did not want to, well, she messaged me first that she would have it by the end of, the latest, that Friday, because I messaged her, I think it was on a Monday. So that Friday, that it was going to be ready the latest. And she lied. It was not ready. And then I sent her another message, and then she said, no, it's better if you come pick it up. So basically she didn't want to mail it to me. She wanted me to pick it up. So then she said, I will message you when it's ready. A week passed by, nothing. So then I reached out again, which was yesterday. And I'm like, I was wondering if my file is ready for me to pick up. And then she's like, tomorrow you can come and pick it up. So then today I went and picked it up. Oh, and she wanted me to come before 12, which to me was kind of weird. So I went, literally, I think I got there at 11:45. And as soon as I pushed the doorbell for them to open, because obviously my password wasn't working anymore, my boss opens the door and she hands me the file, and like, kind of like, okay, here, leave, you know, like not letting me go in. But I wrote her a letter, because that's the kind of person I am. No matter how mad I am at you, I will take accountability for my mistakes. My mistakes were quitting without a 2-week notice. That was horrible. And telling this other teacher the reasons why I was quitting. It was none of her business, and it was wrong of me to tell her how I felt about our boss to her, you know. And I admitted it on the letter. I wrote her saying sorry for quitting without a 2-week notice. I'm sorry for telling this teacher the reasons, or like basically what I said about her. And I even said thank you for everything that you did for me, and I appreciate that you let me work here. And I was being honest, transparent. And even though she treated me like that, when I walked in there, I still said, can I come in, because I have something for you? So she let me walk in. I gave her the letter. I had it in an envelope, so I gave it to her. And then I asked her if I could go say bye to the teachers, and I wanted to say goodbye. I wanted to say bye to the babies, and she didn't let me. She said no, they're working right now, and that was it. And this other lady, that's another boss that was so fake too, was there, just standing there being a hypocrite. And then they just like kicked, like, okay, bye. That was like it. I felt like they didn't want me there. I felt very unwelcomed, like they did not want me there at all. So I left, and I started crying and crying and crying, because I felt humiliated. But I know a part of that is my fault for doing what I did, for quitting without 2-week notice, for telling the other teacher how I felt and what the reasons I quit. But at the end of the day, it was the truth. And at the end of the day, I did the right thing by writing her a note, a letter, and I don't know if she's gonna read it or not. But I did my part, and it really did break my heart that I wasn't able to say bye to the teachers because I've heard that other teachers that quit, they're able to go say bye to them. So that I know the reason she didn't let me say bye to them was because she was mad at me for telling the other teacher of the reasons why I quit. And yeah, and now I'm gonna close that chapter in my life. I had to delete everybody from work because it was hard for me, you know, because it's a trigger, because I do love those kids. I do miss being with those children, and I miss some coworkers that were so nice to me. And it just sucks that it had to end like this. I've never had to deal with something like this. So dramatic for me, you know. And yeah, I know that it was so unprofessional of them to treat me the way they did when I was leaving. But I did my part. I know my mistakes, and that's why I left her the note. And if she reads the letter or not, that's on her. And I just want to move on. So this is the last time I'm going to talk about this. But yeah, those kids are always going to be in my heart. And I just have to move on. Oh yeah, and the copies they gave me, they did not give me my original papers, which I paid for. They didn't give me my original ones, so they made copies, which suck. Those copies are horrible. They're very blurry and barely any ink. You cannot even read it. But I know they did that on purpose. So, but I'm not gonna fight for it anything because I just want to be done and over it. So this is the last time I'm gonna talk about it. So yeah, so please just pray for me that God just guides me in what other job I need to do. Maybe it was not meant for me to work with no more kids. I don't know. No more schools, districts, because it's very toxic. And now I realize that it was the best decision that I made. Maybe not the right way by leaving just like that, but now I know that I was not supposed to be in that place because it's so fake, so toxic. And I got to see my ex-boss for who she really is, and I just wish her the best, but I want nothing to do with her and anybody that was so fake. But yeah, anyways guys, that's everything. I just wanted to come here to just let it out for good and just move on. And please don't let people make you feel like you're worthless or that you're a piece of garbage when you're not, for speaking up, you know, because I learned to speak up, and then I felt like it still bit me up. It still bit me in the ass, however you say that. But I realized that it would have been more toxic if I stayed, you know. But anyways guys, that's it. So don't forget, you're worth it, and if they don't appreciate you, find something else. And I know God will open a better door. He'll close the door that is not meant for you, and he'll open a better door. So anyways guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you're notified every time I post a video, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.